Welcome to Collector's Corner, the premier digital art platform.
We help collectors gain and maintain their edge, all while appreciating beautiful art.
Let's jump in. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Cornering the Market from Collector's Corner. Today is Thursday, January 15th, June 15th. Wow, it's been a long day already. My name is P. You may know me online as Astum, joined by my co-host and friend, Jared, who you may know online as Jared_Pause. How are you doing, Jared?
Living the dream as always, but I don't know what happened or what memo went out, but my calendar just got absolutely slammed this week. So working around the clock, but still loving every moment of it.
Got to earn that summer vacation, my friend. Speaking of earning, well, we have been working hard to earn your attention and bring the generative art news to you. As always, this is a video episode. Check it out on YouTube. If you can't, don't worry. It's going to be on all your favorite podcast platforms, and we're going to have a Twitter thread. And we also have a newsletter shown here on screen where we add more stories we can't fit on these quick to the point episodes. Please subscribe, like, really follow us, leave comments. All of it really helps. I'm going to show you on screen here our Twitter handle at collectors_XYZ. People ask, what is my handle? This is me, Astum at AstumCloud. I also have started a premium service for folks looking to build their wealth in digital art. And so please go ahead, DM me or email us about that. There'll be info on that in the show notes. And here is Jared_Pause. He's the founder of the 8NAP Digital Art Fund. It helps you invest on your behalf, I should say, in digital assets in this growing, very quickly growing, I should say, asset class. And one last thing, this is not a straight plug for Collector's Corner Premium, which I run, but I do want you to know that I've put out a free post on how to sign up for Collector's Corner Premium, but importantly, why you should invest in Web3 art. And the short version is, this is a very small market that is bringing a lot of inefficiencies and growing quickly. So whether you invest through Jared, whether you subscribe to Collector's Corner Premium, or whether you just do it yourself, really, really bullish on this as an asset class overall. All right. Sorry for the long intro. Let's jump into the vibe check. Jared, what's the current vibe out there in the art world?
The vibe is nothing but sheer enthusiasm for the Goose and the upcoming Sotheby's auction. I think that for me, I've been trying to wrap my head around, and I'm developing a thesis around. I don't think the Goose makes the gen art market back. Like, it's not like, oh, everything's going and it's flying off the shelves. But I do think that it is a data point towards setting in a firmer foundation and really signifying to the world that, I mean, I was going through a tweet, discussion with a good listener, and I really think that the tipping point for getting the attention of the greater NFT market and traditional art collectors is 5 million. I think once you see that happen, the Lindy effect is really in place, meaning that it sold for 5.9 million previously to 3AC. Now at 5 million, my core belief would be that even in quote unquote a bear where everything's down, this has been able to maintain a lot of its value. I'm curious to see where it really ends up and where the hammer goes. I mean, you were on a great spaces earlier and made note of this, and this is so true. All it takes is 2 bidders to go absolutely ham on it. And I think you could see some craziness. I do think we see that happening. You just need, because the chances are that the optionality of ever buying this won't happen for another 10 years, because the reality is a billionaire is going to get it, right? So it's going to sit in their collection for a long time, and it will cost orders of magnitude more in the future. So
all right, well,
it's a long drawn out response, but I'm optimistic about today specifically in the auction. But I think this is just another data point in the affirmation that the NFT art, the digital art, whatever you want to call it, is being validated over and over again.
Yep. And let's save some of the talk. Well, you said your piece, so I will talk more about the auction later on. no, we can both talk more about it. But in general, I agree with you. The vibe is excited for this. We've been waiting a long time for this, despite the fact that the broader market has taken a big hit with Ethereum dropping down to the low 1600s, Bitcoin dropping below 25,000. This cyclical. This happens. If folks have been listening, I think that this is what we needed, and we probably will be looking at a rally in the coming weeks after the sentiment has reset. But in the art market, everyone's focused on the goose. Anybody's wondering what is that? That's Ringer's 879. It looks straight up like a goose. That's why it's called that. Let's talk about the other blue chip gen art. Any notable sales going on, Jared?
Similar to last week, I mean, Fidenza. I mean, there's a great sale that we'll talk about later on. But other than that, you know, a ringer sale. The thing that I'm really observing is I don't know if somebody's trying to front run the enthusiasm around the goose, but the amount of ringers listings going off on my listings bot has just been like off the charts. You know, you usually see one or two a week, and it literally got flooded the other day. So I mean, other than that, I'm seeing subscapes, you know, the floor kind of drop a little bit, people taking a lot of WETH bids, but so exciting opportunity there if you believe in Matt. And then some really low WETH bids on Archetype if you believe in Chettle Gollid. But yeah, I mean, the Fidenzas are at the forefront, you know, for all blue chip art at this point.
Yep, Fidenza's really taking the ball and running with it as the leader in the generative art world. 22% increase in floor price, up to 85 Ether floor, which is huge. 5 sales. Really great to see. And we do have a couple that we'll talk about later. How about fxhash?
Yeah, I mean, Lou, I'm glad you brought it to my attention, and I clicked refresh on it from my open tab. But you know, a GM just sold Garden Monolith by Zankin for those who maybe not familiar with my nomenclature. I think this is incredible, honestly. The fact that you're seeing an entry point with Tez so low and then offers getting accepted at this price point. You know, for anybody who's been sitting on the sideline, there's a really good opportunity. I would have never envisioned it going this low, but I'm actually invigorated this week. While the volumes in the top 15 are all in the, you know, the thousands of Tez, I think is really exciting. But what's really exciting to me is you're seeing a little bit of sprinkling of, I'll call it newer projects like Slice of Life by Elsif, who we've highlighted on this podcast a lot of times, breaks into the top 15. You're seeing you know, projects like Axiomata, you know, in the top 3 for the week. I mean, that's a brand new drop that's like less than or about a week old. And then on the flip side, I was really invigorated to see September back in to getting a lot of volume. I loved watching the fxhash sales bot click off a bunch of Septembers. There were some great buys on September, some really, really beautiful pieces. And just overall, you know, I mean, it's nothing earth shattering. It's not crazy on the fxhash side, but you know, what we've been saying for a long time is if you're eager to get in, you know, there's opportunity here. So it's up from last week, which is great news because it was like one of the most depressed weeks for fxhash that I'd seen in a while last week. So good little recovery, and happy to see a really good mix of new and old projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hadn't taken it as close of a look. We got a lot of sales over here on Universal Rayhatcher as well.
Mhm.
A lot of sales, actually. Zancan getting into the mix, buying a couple here. And I just got to say, like, I really hope the folks at fxhash, if you're listening, consider putting some of these prices in US dollars. It is hurting the market. I know that not everybody agrees with me, but literally changing it so you could just see what they look like in US dollars would make a big difference. That Garden Monolith, Jared, went for 3 Ether. I just ran the math. The equivalent of 3 Ethereum. The best collection out there. And I think when you put it in those terms, it's like, whoa, this is
Yeah, it's a
there's
deal,
some
man.
opportunity here.
Especially when you're looking at the Bright Moments release that's like sitting around a 2 to 3 floor. So, I mean, relatively speaking, it's a phenomenal historic buy. I mean, there's only like 256 pieces in GM. So it's like, and I actually did this last night. If you toggle over from highest volume to all time, I mean, this was really eye opening to me. I mean, Zancan holds 3 of the top 5 spots. And then he's got, charcoal seeds starting to ascend the overall value. I mean, this is incredible, the amount of influence Zancan's had on the Tezos space. He had a really, I wasn't going to go here, but he had a really great tweet about engaging Tezos and bringing more awareness and support to the arts. So, I think he's such a big advocate for the space, and clearly from a qualitative and quantitative perspective, I just feel like he's really he's true enough to be one of the goats of the Tezos space. So
Absolutely. Some great deals on his work. I mean, regardless how you feel about Tezos, the art is beautiful, and I think at these prices, it's hard to think that it's going to be bad. But we're obviously a little bit biased. How about Squiggles? A place where we're definitely biased.
very bag biased on all fronts. The Squiggle updates, it's very similar to last week, and I think this is a little bit below average. I kind of just put a line in the sand of about 200 ETH for a 7-day volume to be kind of 200 to 250 to be average. So we're down to 159, almost 160 from 165 last week. Floor price is down half an ETH from 10.9 last week to 10.5 this week. In sales, 14 versus 15 last week. So I would say it's very congruent with what we were seeing. Overall, I think that this is it's an amazing opportunity. I'm so happy. Squiggle 9314, which was a color spread 10. I was helping the buyer on that one. And kudos to them for the patience. We've been pursuing something like this for weeks, but it sold for 12.2 WETH. Like, this is an amazing Squiggle that should age well because of like patience. And we even like micro engineered it down to like when to submit the WETH for timing of the week, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's deals to be had. A day zero went for 12.5, number 147, nice low number. And a couple fuzzies sold for 12.5. So again, you're seeing a consistent premium of about 20 to 30% over the floor for a fuzzy. And, and it got snagged right away from a really great collector. So the whole point of that is nothing monumental. Obviously, there's the full perfect spectrum, excuse me, in the Sotheby's auction. So I anticipate volume ticking up a ton due to that sale. But overall, it's a great week in the sense that it's calm and it's setting in the foundation, the floor, in my opinion.
Yep. And the floor seems to be thickening up a bit, which is nice to see as well. Here's a nice little fuzzy over here. Well, awesome. Thanks for that update. I'm going to talk super quickly about friendship bracelets. Friendship bracelets had 250 sales last week versus 207 the week before. 40.3 ether in volume versus 37, so up a bit. Floor price actually up 0.15 versus 0.13, and people may have forgotten. I, however, did not, because I love friendship bracelets. But not too long ago, we got it right, actually below or right at 0.1 ether is the floor. That seems to be perhaps where the floor will stick. And in terms of listings, you got to check this on Blur. 2289 listed, about the same as 2274 last week. So friendship bracelets are doing really well. Not bad for a free mint, I would say. And they're holding up with the rest of the art market and continuing to have some pretty solid liquidity for folks. So encouraged to see those signs. We'll be talking about them a bit later as well.
Yeah, there's a really good we'll talk about it later, but I mean, there's a couple resistance points, but I mean, I'm really, really intrigued with where this goes because the charts are looking juicy, in my opinion.
They are. And I just, we're talking about charts and prices and stuff. I just think they look really great too. I really do. I think it's just wonderfully done. Not bad for a free mint, I will say. A free mint with over 12,000 unique holders at that. So really cool project in a lot of fronts. We'll talk a little bit more about it later. Recapping some releases. First one that I wanted to talk about here was the Spaces Between Worlds. It was the most recent Braindrops release. Mint price was 0.1, so quite affordable, but the floor, unfortunately, is 0.065, now 17% listed, which is high. We like to see these get to 10 or below % listed. Really interesting generative AI collages, I think, but the market is just still not there for even a point 0.1 mint. I was hoping to do a little bit better. It seems that some of the allure of brain drops has gone away as the AI hype has also gone away. You have any thoughts on this one, Jared?
Not my particular cup of tea. I think they're actually they're reminiscent of like some old like obey type art, or like I think they're really intriguing, but a little niche overall. But I think it's, again, this is about experimenting and throwing stuff out into the space and seeing, you know, refining your artistic touch and the collector base. I again, I'm not running to pick them up, but it's not my aesthetic. But overall, I think this is it's just a sign of the times.
100% agree. And I think it's interesting to see how collages work with AI. It makes me, as I look at it, I think, collages kind of already seemed like they were AI, the way that they are a mismatch of things that are, well, not mismatch, but forget the word, a potpourri. Let's use that word of things. But let's go on to the next one. This collection I thought was really cool, really low mint price. It's called Ecstasis by Grant Osterling. The mint price was 0.09 ether. The floor is right about that. A good amount listed, but man, I just really like the way these looked. What are your thoughts on these, Jared? Did you have a chance to look at these?
Yeah, I love these. I love seeing them come across the not only the sales feed within Grailers, but just everybody posting about them. I think some of these are like ridiculously brilliant. I mean, I love the flow. It almost has like a Lars type like subtlety to it, if that makes any sense. Like I really do enjoy the color flow of it. I could see a like a painter's palette with just some sort of acrylic paint splattered on there and mixed together to create these sort of things. So overall, I mean, I think it's beautiful. It's, if you're collecting, the floor is ridiculously thick, right around that mint price. So I think there's opportunities to get in on it, but overall, I think they're beautiful.
Yeah, 100% agree. Really beautiful work here. Congrats to Grant for this. I'm looking forward to tracking these and see how they do. Because I agree with you. It gave me Lars Wander, How You See Me vibes.
Yeah,
Weren't too
there's only
many.
111 of them, so I mean, not a ton of them out there. So I could literally see over time this thing going up, but it's definitely a long play if you decide to look at them.
For sure, for sure. Low price, long time horizon type of play. So there weren't too many releases to go over, as you mentioned earlier. Hasn't been a ton. Or well, we were talking about it off screen actually, but we did have some good action. I wrote a thread. Sorry, shameless plug for my thread. But we had a sale that was notable, Fidenza, for a couple of reasons. One, it was a big sale, 130 ETH, close to over $250,000, which is obviously a lot of money. Secondly, a rare Fidenza, only 26 of these with a black palette. And thirdly, it was bought by Alexis Ohanian, who, is not completely Web3 native. He's been affiliated work with Proof Collective as well before, but it's a big name, I think, to be picking up Fidenza. What did you think of this, Jared?
Um, to me, it was a nothing burger. It's just another person picking up one, but obviously it's around the enthusiasm of the Fidenzas and just further propagating the narrative right now that Fidenzas are one of, if not the top generative art collections to collect. I found it really interesting that it was bought with a wallet that had only 5 NFTs total, 4 of which were PFPs. So that to me was an interesting signal. I read it as the PFPs were really oriented towards maybe where his fund has put their money. I can't remember if they led the proof, funding, but he had a Moonbird, I think a Doodles, a Punk, and a Bored Ape. So it was just an interesting signaling when it came out, and then really went from a non-wallet to public wallet with the purchase of Fidenza. So I think it's good. I think it's a good signaling. And again, it's just another data point about the validation of digital art in the maybe more traditional space. But they being Alexis and Serena, I think they own a bunch of punks and with tennis headbands and some other things. So I don't think this is brand new. That's why I was surprised it was so well like championed, because he's been buying NFTs for a while. I mean, even held a proof pass for a long time. I think he sold it because of the fund's investment. So but either way, all eyes are good eyes, especially in light of such a big buy.
Well, I'll tell you from my perspective why this is more bullish than it may seem. Because this is, first of all, like clear validation of art, right? It's not like he had a bunch of Fidenzas before and sold them, or even any art. And as we know, the NFT world has been mostly dominated by PFPs for a long time, pretty much from the start. CryptoPunks, is it a PFP? Is it art? There's some ambiguity there. Obviously, hit some of those before, but nothing that was like purely unambiguously art, which of course Fidenzas are. And the other thing I would say is, to your point, like, yeah, he has invested in a lot of those other collections, right? Doodles, Moonbirds, etc. But he didn't invest in Fidenzas. There's nothing to invest in, unless he recently invested in art blocks that I'm not aware of. But then again, Fidenzas are not the same as art blocks. And the third thing I will say, which is a bit of a stretch, I will admit, is that you need these high profile buys early on, people like scooping up blue chips, in order to take the market to the next level, to signal to the market that something has changed. And we haven't seen something like this in a long time, in over a year, where there's a big high profile purchase from a big high profile person. So I think that agnostic of who that person is certainly helps with, melting the ice cube, so to speak. And or what's the analogy of how you don't see the ice cube melting internally until it fully melts type of deal. To me, it's just chipping away at the bear market and the negative sentiment around the art market. So those were my storylines out of it. Obviously, these are in my head.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got a big Twitter following and bringing a lot of eyes onto it. Like the Twitter post that he had a lot of impressions. So like, I get that. I also think if you're just looking for high profile people, I mean, the last Sotheby's auction for $1 million was to a billionaire. Like, I don't know if it's public to who it is, but I mean, people are gobbling these things up. To me, that's just like jumping on a trend, or being advised accordingly. So
yeah, but being a billionaire doesn't make you high profile, right? Being married to Serena Williams makes you high profile, right? That's like a globally recognized athlete who is not a billionaire, I would guess. So, anyways,
and
I hear
Alexis
what you're
is the
saying.
founder of Reddit, right? Like, let's not discount like his own accomplishments. They're both very notable in their own right.
For sure, for sure. Well, and notable things coming up that everyone's been talking about. The Sotheby's auction. So we alluded to this a little bit. I'll just kick this off. There's been a lot of hype around this. I wrote a big thread here about the top art collections, or sorry, the top art pieces in here that are going to be sold. There are a lot of pieces, and you and I were talking off camera. We don't think any of these go under the radar, or how should I put this? I don't think any of these go undervalued in that auction hype. But Jared, you're a fund manager. You talk to a lot of people who are also fund managers or wealthy. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on, are there so many pieces in this auction? There are 37 for sale. I would argue these 20 or so that I put up here are the big ones from the art side. Do you think that all of these catch a bid? Like, is there enough money that's going to be at this auction ready to reasonably purchase all of these pieces? Or do you think some of them end up just falling by the wayside because everyone's focused on the goose, and if they don't get the goose, they don't want anything else?
I'm gonna actually quote a very intelligent person that I know named Aston Cloud. You brought it up. I think that like when I think Sotheby's did this perfectly. When the goose goes as one of the first pieces, you're gonna get a lot of FOMO. There's gonna be at least one person who didn't get it, right? Probably a lot more. It's gonna create FOMO for maybe the consolation prize. So I think it definitely drives interest in there. To answer your question directly, do I think there's enough money? Yes, I do. There's a lot of people with a lot of money on the sidelines waiting for the liquidation of a lot of 3AC stuff. I'm hoping that this is that proverbial, ball being held underwater and some of the pressure being released when the anxiety of not being able to get the goose is there. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Okay, one last question for you on this. What is your favorite piece out of these? Of all the ones, forgetting about price and valuation, like if you could get gifted one of these and you could never sell it, which one would you want?
Wow. Man, how about that for a great question and throwing me for a loop? The squiggle enthusiast in me wants the perfect spectrum because there's only 22 of them. But if I'm being honest, I would probably want the autoglyph just because it's such a piece of history. I mean, I'm not kidding. A couple people have come to me seeing if I can help facilitate an autoglyph buy prior to this sale. So I think it's getting a lot of attention. I think you're going to see autoglyphs become extremely illiquid and getting locked up, and illiquid in a good way. So I would generically want the squiggle maxi in me wants to say perfect spectrum because of what it is and its limited nature. But if I couldn't sell anything, it would be an autoglyph for sure.
Yeah, I think I would go for one of the Fidenzas. I think maybe this one, 216. I just love these spiral Fidenzas. Yeah, I'm like a sucker for the spirals. I know they haven't been going as much as the micros for as much as the micros, but I love that. The other one that I really, really like as I was doing this research, I like this Fidenza and 817. I call it the mustache. I really like it. I don't know why. It just feels playful and fun.
I
Obviously
love
Goose
those
looks great.
picks. I'm with you. I would rather have a spiral over a micro any day of the week. I just think that when you think flow field, you think spiral. I mean, I hate to say it, like to me, it's the epitome of a flow field. But yeah, that mustache is actually pretty funny. I never saw it until you see it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on to some great art at great prices. I want to call out generative architecture. This is a verse release that's happening right now. There's a lot of artists here. I think a lot of them have art that's all pretty much at a great price. Sometimes you're going to see a ridiculous floor price, but these were just selling and folks have listed them high. They will come down. Almost all these were below $500. And yeah, it's just a really, really great art. Here's one that the auction's just starting today from Eric Swan. It'll probably be over by the time this episode is released, by the time you're able to view it. But just love it. And I know one of your favorites is here, Jared, Studio Yorktown.
Yorktown, man, I love it, and this is the commitment we have to the community. We're sitting here recording, and I'm not able to put my bids in, so I'm gonna be the sucker who buys it all on secondary.
Well, that's okay. You're supporting that. Oh wow, I should have previewed these. These are really good.
Yeah, they're really good. They're actually really good.
Amazing. The next one that I wanted to call out, which Jared, you're probably a little more familiar than I am, was this is one of the proof releases, Cathedral Studies by EDG, Eric DeJulie. Hope I said that right.
Yeah, I
Um,
think there's a real opportunity here for gen art collectors. The To give you the background on it is anybody who had a diamond nested moonbird was able to claim a mint ticket, and a lot of them went to editions. That's where you saw the OXDGB, the Beeple that got a lot of attention, but also in the mix was because you got to be able to find 10,000 pieces for the 10,000 moonbirds, and EDG did this project as part of a generative option and alternate to it.
yeah, and it's beautiful, wonderful art with motion. A Art Blocks curated top artist, sitting at a 0.089 ether floor, and the floor is thin, but it's under $500 for a while. At least 10 of these pieces are. Price of Ethereum is fluctuating so much that I can't tell you the exact number. Probably 15 of them under $500 or close to that. So really great art there that I wanted to highlight.
I think something to note is that you can still get a diamond exhibition mint pass and mint these, but the proof team has alluded to the fact that at some point there's going to be a line in the sand where you won't be able to. So even though it shows as 386 items, I believe it's a larger set overall. And in the process, I don't know how much the mint passes are going for, but see, there you go. A little bit of alpha here. Go buy it for less, then you get to mint your own one. I think that's part of the reason why this is actually being held down a little bit mean, you have to pay gas a couple times, but overall, you can buy this mint pass, mint the EDG on the Proof website, and then be able to, if you don't see one you like on the floor, be able to roll the dice and potentially get one yourself. But I mean, I'm glad you brought this up because it's something that I had been thinking about for some time. I really do feel like once the line in the sand's drawn, there'll be a lot of attention and flood to the pieces because it's a great project.
Agree. Another project that you and I both love and both hold, Aiva by Schwembuilder. And Schwembuilder actually, so it's a long story, but had some issues with his local government. I believe he's in Latvia, but is coming out with a new project in about a month. And Aiva, the other reason I thought of it, other than the fact that the floor price is actually it's up a bit, about 0.35 ETH, so just barely hitting our great art at great prices, is these are kind of reminiscent of ringers. And so, most of us cannot drop 40 ether, and who knows what the price is after the goose, but wanted to bring this up as is some great art at great prices.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing about, I'm really talkative today, but what you're starting to see, in my opinion, is a lot of great pieces. I mean, there's a micro close to the floor. You and I know that there's only 10 2x2 pieces in the grid. So, those are pieces that were carrying a huge premium, and now they're accessible.
Yep, absolutely. You want to talk about Rooted?
Yeah, so I'm glad I clicked refresh. I almost thought about buying a couple mint passes last night. This was supposed to be a 120 piece collection, and then all of a sudden apparently it didn't get minted out, and they capped it at 84 pieces. So overall, man, I this just went from like a holy cow to an oh my god. But an 80 MJ Lindau is amazing. I think this is a beautiful progression of their art, and the fact that now that there's only 84 pieces makes it even more attractive. I mean, with Ches being so cheap, this is an incredible opportunity.
Right. There's probably some tickets that could be claimed at some point in that whole system. But I agree. And I think something happened, Jared, where they had to pause the mint. Maybe it was the AWS issue that happened. I don't know. But look, these mints were at 150 Tezos, so it's essentially a floor for the couple that are listed.
Yeah, it was incredible to like. I almost bought a couple of tickets last night, but got distracted. Now,
Yeah, there you go. Let's do some upcoming drops here. The first one I wanted to call out, this is part of a solo exhibition with Verse and Andreas Geisen, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and CD Vanetti. They work together. Andreas has some amazing work on Tezos, but what is really cool, in my opinion, about this work is that it all has motion, and they have a number of pieces coming out, but this one is one that I really enjoyed in particular. It's coming out July 6th, although the solo exhibition starts on, I believe, the 27th of June. And the next one I wanted to talk about real quick. So this is Kate Voss Gallery. They have some fantastic design, really, really creative folks there. But Ivana Tao, who's a well-known AI artist, has a release June 17th, 2 p.m. Eastern, and it is called Machine Hearted. Here you go, by Ivana Tao. And there's some previews here. I believe it is, so it's a starting price 0.48, Dutch auction, resting price 0.24. Interesting. It's a lower spread than I thought it would be, and 101 pieces. So some cool art here that I'm excited to see all the outputs for, but you can get some previews up on the screen. Let's talk about some of our favorite artists. You want to start with TLP?
yeah, Thomas Lynn Peterson, also known as TLP or Thomas P85, great artist, great collector. Probably has, if not one of the most iconic memories. When I saw the sale, I thought he was crazy, and it's aged extremely well with the lion. But a brilliant eye. I think that what's on screen right now, those pulp pieces, is something that I was actually scrolling through, ironically, last night. I just think that the diversity and his commitment to it, plug for Collector's Corner podcast, the first artist we ever had on reviewing their own project and screens, an extremely committed community member, an extremely committed artist, loves giving back through his collection. But Thomas is an amazing artist, and I think that one of the things that I'm fascinated with is screens. I hold a couple, full disclosure, but just scrolling through it, there's an amazing opportunity to get some brilliant palettes right now while it's flying under the radar at really attractive prices. Floors thinning out. I could see a lot of potential here. A lot of funds, as you have up on screen, have collected the space or collected the art. But overall, if you're making a bet on the space and art, it's amazing art. If you're making a bet on the person, I can't think of really a better person. I think he's top 5 within the community. So overall, just an amazing individual with consistently great art.
100% agree. The next artist I want to talk about here is Peter Pasma. Peter is also an Artblocks curated artist, and he is just incredibly creative. I mean, he does a lot of work on fxhash on the Tezos side, as well as just for the art community. And as you can see here, he's constantly retweeting just amazing artists, supporting them. He has that collection, Universal Ray Hatcher, which I still think is brilliant. Probably the most brilliant fxhash params project that I've seen. And he also started January, where Gen is in generative art, January, where artists will have a prompt every day of January, and they will have to come up with some art that follows that prompt, such as strings on a peg or glitch art or whatever it might be. And so he's really seemed to have motivated the community and rallied them together, the community of artists. And here we go. Here's a Universal Ray Hatcher. So just like incredibly creative, and I think under the radar. So I wanted to highlight him as well. All right, last one, art to watch. Our friends, friendship bracelets. So I'm just going to do a little primer for folks who don't know. We talked about this collection. Well, we talk about it every week, but this was a gift to anybody who held an Artblocks piece. They got 2 of these for free mint back in October. There were 72,000 eligible folks. 38,500 were minted. The Artblocks team holds a few hundred of these that they're going to give out at various times, the way that Snowfurrow has also done with Squiggles. 12,000 unique owners, which is 32%. 32% is reasonable. 12,000 is a lot, bigger than any other collection. Unlike any other art collection, the art has motion. I think the art is beautiful. And there's some color palettes too as well. So there's some rarities associated with it. We won't get into all those details, but it just feels like they're holding up, man. Like for a collection that could easily have been a throwaway, the community has continued to enjoy and like these. You and I are both holders. A lot of people are, 12,000. But it just feels like it's not going away, and it's slowly getting better. You were talking a bit about the charts, but I'll stop now and then let you talk whatever you'd like about friendship bracelets, Jared.
My observation, and full disclosure, my funds bags are oriented towards a lot of friendship bracelets, so take this with a grain of salt, but the charts seem to be putting in higher lows. I'm looking forward to them going up. There are some buy resistance at 17.175 ETH, and then also around 0.2. But once you break through those particular points, it's like really off to the races. I mean, we've seen these influxes of attention into the space for friendship bracelets, and see hundreds of sales in a day. I mean, I'm looking at an article. I get it doesn't count for Blur, but 165 sales until the doubling of the floor. That to me is incredible. It's showing a thing out floor. I'd love to see a little bit more volume come into it, but when you look at the chart, just put in a higher low. I'm hoping that stays and you're able to break through that 0.2 price point. But I think that once you're seeing it holding, I mean, it's you're seeing people like Bob Lucas come in, put in bids for like 45 pieces at 0.2. The floor is essentially getting supported with these large accumulation. And I think as it creeps up towards that 0.2, the named palettes in particular become a relatively amazing value. I've recently picked up a ton of named palettes. I plan on probably going after a couple more. I'm the top holder, or in the top 2 holder for 2 particular palettes. So obviously I'm biased here, but it's something that I'm watching is not only on the floor, but for those who are looking to churn and grind out some profits, there could be, again, not financial advice, an opportunity here if you're willing to hold for a little bit.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add is what's not shown in this chart is these 165 sales are what, maybe like 20 ether. My math's probably a little bit off. It's not a lot of ether. It's not a lot of actual money to get up to here, is my point, because these things are so cheap. They're 0.15 ETH each. So
yeah, and what I'm seeing, the thing that gives me a lot of optimism is one of the whales whose wallet's named Leslie was dumping into the floor a lot, and they're kind of holding up that 0.175 and 0.2. So once you break through that, there's not a lot of sellers. I mean, granted, people will come in, but this individual is unloading their bags at a substantial loss, and I think that just presents a good opportunity for anybody who's willing to accumulate. I just don't see a lot of I don't see a lot of sellers coming in, and it's giving me a lot of conviction to see somebody dumping into that floor and the marketplace just gobbling them up. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Looks like 8892 Vault may have been a beneficiary of some of Leslie's sales. Leslie has sold 255 in the last month, and the floor price has gone up, to your point. So it's really absorbed it well. Well, that's our show today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Please give us some feedback. Please let us know how we can keep making this better for you. We appreciate it. Sorry if we rambled a bit today. We're both tired. We're both grinding to help you all.
I was a little wordy today. I know it's funny. I was just we were commenting about that earlier, and here I fell into it. It's an exciting time, man. So give us a like and a follow, subscribe, do everything that you need to do to support Collector's Corner. We're out here doing the good work, and P is trying to develop something absolutely amazing. So help us out.
That's all right. Thank you, friends. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning into Collector's Corner. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you like this episode and want to help us out, please subscribe and leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on YouTube. Please also follow us on Twitter for announcements as we expand to other social and content platforms. Our Twitter handle is @collectors_XYZ. We'd also love to hear any feedback you have, so please comment or reach out. We're always striving to be more useful and get better so we can help you in your collecting journey. The Collector's Corner team and their guests are not registered investment advisors. All views expressed on this podcast are personal opinions and are not specific inducements to make particular investments or investment strategies, and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. This show is solely for informational and entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, please consult a professional.